There's a lot of misconceptions that people have about love, and I think that in their relationships with others, and in their relationships in general, they, because of that misconception, a lot of problems end up emerging, right? And people give up quite often because of that. There's two misconceptions. The first misconception is that love doesn't hurt, and that's in a way closely tied into the second misconception that love is a feeling. Love is a feeling. Love is not a feeling. It's not a feeling. It's not a particular feeling. Love is an underlying passion. Love is an underlying energy that from which just about any emotion can emerge as a manifestation or expression of that energy. Just about any emotion. So love is the whole range of human emotions. It can manifest itself in the form of joy. It can manifest itself in the form of joy and a sense of security. It can also manifest itself in the form of anger. It can also manifest itself in the form of sadness and grief and all kinds of different emotional states. It can manifest itself, that is love. It can manifest itself in all of those different ways. So, I'll use a quick analogy. So, let's say that you're a parent, right? I'm sure there's some parents watching, people who have kids watching my videos, or at least this video. If your child does something disrespectful, or if your child, let's say, beat someone up at school or bullied somebody, and if your child did something bad, all right, you probably are going to get angry. And just remembering the way that you were raised by your parents, anybody watching, your parents probably got pissed and quite frankly, they probably in some cases beat you, right? Use corporal punishment. Does that mean that they hate you? Does that mean that, your parents are evil or whatever because they use corporal punishment on you because you were misbehaving or whatever when you were 7 years old? Does it mean that? No. You see, your parents, they love you, at least in most cases, and it is from that love that anger came, because you are something they are passionate about. You are something that they are invested in, emotionally invested in and passionate about. You are something that has a profound impact on their life and is in some form or fashion either intricately connected or very heavily influencing their sense of self. And so when you do they're very passionate about you, and they want the best. They want to see you doing the best because they are passionate about you and they want to see you doing the best. However, when you do something that violates them, then it makes them angry. And if you've ever listened to, for instance, a speech like made by Martin Luther King Jr. or any big-time public speaker, whenever they're making a speech about something that they're passionate about or something that has had a profound impact on them, you can feel the energy in what they say. You can literally feel it in your body. You can feel the words that are coming out of their mouth and into the microphone. You can feel that shit. Because there's the passionate energy behind it. It doesn't matter how they are speaking. They could be that passionate energy could be manifesting itself in the form of an inspirational speech for people. It could be manifesting itself in the form of an angry speech, for instance, by Hitler, right? But the people, they can feel the energy in what the person is saying. They can feel what this person is saying, because what underlies what the person is saying, what underlies the subject matter, is that passionate energy. It is that investment. And so it is from that those emotional reactions and states emerge, that they manifest. It doesn't matter if it's in the form of enthusiasm. Like if you had, let's say, a professor who was, who's really enthusiastic about what he's teaching, right? If you're taking a class from somebody who's really enthusiastic about what he or she is teaching, you're going to learn a lot more, and you're going to be a lot more inspired than if you're learning it from somebody who's treating their teaching job as basically being the same thing as working as a cashier. They're just doing their job, getting the stuff that they need to get done, but they're not actually that engaged or inspired or that interested in whatever they are teaching. So you can sense that, right? And when the person is interested in what they are teaching, you know what? It manifests itself in the form of greater comprehension, since you can feel what they are saying. You can feel the content. All right? And feeling is a big part of understanding. Because in the knowing, we sense before we know. That's why we say things like, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't feel right. That makes perfect sense. That, sense, sensation, feeling. It's all feelingly. The feelings register to our minds whether or not something is true or not. Whether something is logical or not. Intuition is a sensory, feelingly kind of process. So getting back to what I was saying, love spans the whole range of human emotions. Love is that passionate energy that underlies whatever subject matter or person it is, whatever the context is in question. Hatred is not the opposite of love. Hatred is a different manifestation of the same passionate energy. The opposite of both love and hatred is indifference. It is to be apathetic. It is to not care. All right? Wanting to treat someone well or wanting to harm somebody both involve being invested in someone, so being emotionally invested in someone. But not caring about somebody and just being able to drive past them and not give a damn, that is the opposite of both, right? That is apathy. It's the opposite of both. So what happens a lot of times is people have this misconception that love is this particular feeling. It's a particular good feeling that you have. And, when you have that misconception, it's going to create a very big problem. The problem is inevitable. The problem is, if you've got the misconception that love is this particular warm and good feeling, all right, you're going to be very disappointed, because that feeling is going to go. That feeling is not going to stay forever, all right? If it goes, it won't be gone forever either. That feeling is like the weather. The joy in love is a lot like a sunny day. But you're not always going to have sunny days. You're also going to have cloudy days, rainy days. You're going to have all kinds of weather. You're not always going to have warm days. You're also going to have cold days. You're going to have all kinds of days. So people have this misconception, and when they approach relationships with this misconception, when something eventually happens that will undoubtedly bring the people, will undoubtedly put out that, at least temporarily put out that fire, all right? Instead of sticking together, or like instead of sticking it through, what people do is they give up, because they assume that the love is gone. But the problem is, the love wasn't there in the first place, because that's not the way that they were approaching it. All right? What was there was they liked this quality, they liked that quality, they were infatuated. But to say that they loved is a different story. All right? To say that they loved is a completely different story. In order to, I would say love is a mindset. Love is a state of mind. All right? Love is a state of mind. A lot like, in a way, happiness is a state of mind. Love is a state of mind. Love is a particular inner conviction. All right? Love, you have to be a loving person in order to love. You have to be that. Love has to be you. You have to be love in order to be able to give love. Because that's what love is all about. Love is about giving. You know, a lot of times when people are in relationships, they only think in terms of themselves. They think in terms of their time, their feelings, their convenience, their all of that. My this, my this, my this, my that. When you think in terms of that, nothing will ever work. It's guaranteed nothing will ever work. You might have flings here, flings there, and you'll jump from person to person. And you'll keep jumping from person to person until eventually you realize what makes you jump from person to person. Because if you're only thinking in terms of yourself, if you're only thinking in terms of your convenience, your time, your feelings, if you're only thinking in terms of yourself, then that's the opposite of love. Love is about giving. Love is about sacrifice. Love is measured in sacrifice. Think about it. A mother's love is considered the purest form of love. Why is it considered the purest form of love? Because a mother makes arguably one of the most ultimate sacrifices, right? You're a part of her body for 9 months. During that time, she's more vulnerable. She gives birth. That's a dangerous procedure. She could die in many, especially poor parts of the world. That often happens. So your mother makes these great sacrifices, and mothers in general will do that anyway throughout their children's lives. They'll be willing to make these sacrifices. A mother's love is considered the purest love because of the amount of sacrifice that is involved. Love is measured in sacrifice. The more one is willing to make sacrifices and compromises, the stronger the love is. I would argue that the love that a guy has for a woman is stronger than the love that a woman has for a guy in probably 85% of cases. Why? Because when it comes down to mating, not to children, but when it comes down to mating, when it comes down to the process of creating children, the male makes the greater sacrifice. What gender fights over mates? Is it females? Do you see females beating each other up over mates? No. You see males doing that. That's why a male lion has a mane of fur around his head to protect his head from blows he receives when sparring with other males. That's why a male deer has antlers, or a male buffalo has horns to protect his head, once again, from blows he receives while fighting over mates. And when you fight, that's a very dangerous thing you can do, because if you're fighting, you could get injured, you could get killed. So that is a sacrifice in and of itself, all right? And so that's why when you look at movies, love stories and stuff, it's always the guy who's going through all this shit to get the girl, right? Look at Shrek. Shrek went through all that shit for Fiona. Would Fiona go through all that shit for Shrek? Hell no. But Shrek went through all that shit for Fiona. So that is why, I would say in most cases the man loves the woman more than the woman loves the man. But in also most cases the woman loves the child more than the man loves the child. That's why you got so many guys paying child support and there was another woman. Or you got guys that, I remember talking to a guy who fought in Vietnam, and he would sleep around with the women there, and he said he has kids. He said he's got someone pregnant. He has kids over there he doesn't even know about, and he's totally okay about that. How many women will be okay about having a child they do not know? They'd be fucking traumatized about that shit. So that's why, I'm not saying men are unloving or women are unloving or across the board, one is more loving than the other. They're differently loving. They're loving in a different context, all right? If you're in a relationship and you're with a woman, you have to know that she's incapable of loving you as much as you love her. But at the same time, if you have a child, you have to know that you're incapable of loving your child as much as she will. It's just that simple. And she needs to understand that her husband is incapable of loving the child as much as she does. All right? So it's just love in a different context. It's love in a different context. And it doesn't mean that the father doesn't love the child. Father's love is very important, especially for both genders of children. All right? All right? For both of them. Father's love, very important. All right? I'm not saying that women don't love men. They do. All right? I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying if we're comparing, the men love women more than the women love men. The women love the kids more than the men love the kids. I just think you can see plenty of biological evidence for that. But, back to what I was saying about, love. Yeah, I mean, love is the full range of human emotions. If, the love that, let's say, the parent, the mother or father has for the child, that it manifests in the form of hugs and kisses and happy birthday, comes from the same, like that love, and then the love, and then the anger of shouting, don't do this shit, and then beating the child and whatever, and then the sadness and tears and the grief that comes from, let's say, if their child went missing or died, they all come from the same source. They all come from exactly the same source. So love is not a feeling. Love is the full range of feelings. Love is not a feeling, it is the full range of human emotions that are all manifesting in different ways and at different times due to a different situation, that all revolve around a particular subject, whether it be another person or it be a subject matter. Like let's say you're a public speaker and you're talking about something that is important to you, near and dear. Let's say that you're a person that struggles with depression or some mental illness, or you're a former nicotine addict. This is a subject that's close to your heart, and then you love helping people, and it's a conviction. Sometimes it manifests in the form of anger. If someone says something, let's say in support, or let's say you're responding to some ignorance, it comes out in the form of anger. Sometimes it comes out in the form of encouragement. Sometimes it comes out in the form of joy. It comes out in all kinds of different forms. But what underlies all of that is a passionate energy, and that passionate energy that that is invested in whatever you're invested in, that is love. People don't understand that. And that's the reason why they get into relationships. Shit happens because it's inevitably going to happen. I mean, we're human beings. And then when shit happens, they go from saying, I love you so much, I love you, I'll be with you, whatever, blah, 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 to, I don't know, I got to think about this. How do you make that 180-degree flip? I mean, how does that shit happen? You love somebody, you don't make that flip. If you love somebody and they violate you, you get angry at them. But then that anger, then the rain comes inside you, and then you become happy again. And then it just goes through all the motions. If and then you, or maybe if they died, you'd feel sad. That's the thing. Like, love is that full range of human emotions, including fear even. So it's the whole range of human emotions. People don't understand that, and that creates a lot of problems, because they end up they enter relationships and they approach relationships from a completely wrong angle. Done.